Good morning. Another walk through the neighborhood. It is so incredibly peaceful to walk through this neighborhood that I'm in. And it like all day yesterday too. It's just something about the layout and there are no like through cars, you know? Windy. It's just people walking, you know? Anyway, very peaceful. And I might talk about that later. But the main thing that I wanted to share was I went to this coffee shop yesterday. It was very local. And I don't know how to lead into this. The cultural norms here around nudity are very different. Let's go this way. So, let me explain. When I got here 2 days ago, that night, I was going to the sushi conveyor belt sushi place. And it was in like a kind of a touristy, well, not really touristy, just like densely populated area, bunch of shops, and those like, those like little pop-up stands that they put on like the sidewalk. And two of these like stands were selling a whole bunch of t-shirts, and on a majority of the t-shirts were pictures of just straight up naked women. And I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. But I like kind of brushed it off. And then can you hear that? I can't understand a word he's saying. Probably an ambulance. And so I brushed it off. The next morning, yesterday morning, when I went to this coffee shop, I sit down and it's super local. And the woman's only Japanese, which is it's just fun, you know? It's fun to be like, she said something. I tried to order an espresso, and they didn't have an espresso. It was more like a cafe. And she was like, oh, we just have this black coffee. I pointed to the black coffee. And then apparently, I think you could get like a menu, like between 7:30 and 11 is you can get like a sandwich with your coffee. But she flipped to the back and it said like 7:30 to 11 and then just a sentence in Japanese. And she pointed to it and said something in Japanese. And I was like, I have no idea what you just said. But I just said, I guessed. And I just said no. And she was like, okay. So, anyway, I sit down at this coffee shop. And there's this like bookcase to my left. And on top are like some newspapers. And below are like a whole bunch of just like magazines. And I kind of look closer, and you can see on the side of the magazine side, like girls in bikinis, and so I pull one out, and I don't know how to describe this because it's like a thick magazine, and the first like 6 pages are just naked women. And then you keep flipping through, and like the entire rest of the book or the magazine is like comic strips and like some news and some like other like normal stuff. And I'm like, this makes no sense. I literally don't understand it. So I was ChatGPTing, and my understanding is there's like a fine line, and the cultural norms around nudity are normalized. And from what I was learning, it's like something about they view the female body as aesthetic. And so I still don't understand this, but it's like something about the aesthetics. Okay. That's okay. And you can display that in newspapers and magazines and a whole bunch of common things. But what I was also learning was that I guess the Lamborghini, nice. The line is drawn at like depicting sexual acts or something like that. And it was also saying something about like, while nudity is okay, something about the culture is like people don't talk about sexual stuff. And so I'm like, this is just so weird. And I don't understand it. But anyway, so that's something that I learned here in Japan, is the culture is very different. That's about all I have to say about that. So, anyway, we're at 7 minutes. I'll call it here. I was going to talk about 15-minute cities in transit. I'll briefly mention it. I took the train a couple stops to a restaurant last night, and I was just thinking about how the trains came every 3 minutes, and it's just like unfathomable. And at the same time, a lot of the trains were like packed with people, and that confused me, because it's like, how can you run trains so frequently but also get them so packed? And I think the answer is just like, there are so many people here and everybody uses the metro system. And I don't know, it's pretty cool. It's very easy to get around in my experience so far. But the thing I've been thinking about is one of the things that I heard Andrew Tate say is it's like a casual, nonchalant joke that they, as in the Matrix, are trying to get us to live in these 15-minute cities. And that's all I know about what he said. But I think I know what he's talking about. And so I've been trying to think about this. Like, what's the negative view towards a potential like car-free society or daily life? And I think it's the view that taking away cars is taking away freedom of choice and movement. But the thing I've been thinking about is like, it's so undesirable to sit in your car all day going to work and back and having to do everything by your car. And it's just nice to be able to like walk and get sunlight in and spend time outside. I don't know. I don't know. I see. I think there's a case to be made that not having a car is also freedom, but you can't drive long distances. So I don't know. That was just one thing I was thinking about. But the other thing I have to mention is I've seen a good handful of kids like that. I don't know if you see kids walking around this neighborhood, like going to school, and like without a parent or anyone chaperoning them. And I just think that's really interesting. That, I mean, it makes sense. It's so safe and peaceful here. Like, oh yeah, just go to school. But the thought of like, I don't know, sending your kid alone to school when he's like in 3rd grade or 5th grade or whatever, through like a whole bunch of neighborhood streets in anywhere else is like, that seems like not a good idea. But anyway, I'll call it here. See you tomorrow.